Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you're doing well out there. Honestly, things feel heavy right now, Like the world seems to be tilting in ways that we can't quite control ourselves or individually. It feels chaotic, uncertain, and in a way, like not gonna lie, there's always this talk of upheaval of civilization, the collapse of it and stuff during, the end of one cycle of the Earth's, history of human history. And, maybe what's going on is the start of a new era, like my ancestors once claimed, in a way I can it feels like it's building momentum. That's the best way that I can put it. Like kind of like a storm rolling in, like a really bad storm, like a storm of a century, basically. And to me, it's unsettling. And I won't lie, like it feels as if things are going to get more turbulent than they are currently before anything even begins to settle or look like it's settling. And like, if you've been feeling that weight too, just know that you're not alone, And I know it's not much consolation. Do not get me wrong. I know. But sometimes that reminder helps in a small way. Even if it doesn't change the course of this storm that we're all standing in, But anywho, for those of you joining me for the first time, hello there. I'm TwistedFae, though you can call me Twisted or Fae for short. I'm a traditional and digital artist here on YouTube, and I specialize in dark, sultry fantasy art that lives somewhere between, beauty and decay. On this channel, I share vlogs like this one, along with speed paints and tutorials. So if that sounds like your kind of vibe, then go ahead and nab yourself a drink and a snack and get settled in. So today's footage shows me working on an ink piece for my new collection titled Autumn's Requiem. This collection is an exploration of what lingers, like memory, grief, rot, and strange life that grows from loss, It's, how to put this? It's about the uncanny, like where the familiar feels unsettling in a way, and where forgotten things keep breathing long past their time, To me, it's a meditation on death and decay, but not in a way that ends the story. Instead, it's more about what rises and what blooms in the shadows or from the shadows, For me, uh, Autumn's Requiem is a process of release, I guess you could say. Like, how do I say this? Like each piece takes like the darkest parts of myself and my thoughts, my grief, my anger, my despair, and it transforms them into something tangible. In some pieces, it feels like something that feels ancient, uncanny, twisted, but alive. And others, it's like fungi, breaking through old root of the rot and decay. And then in others, it's like spirits suspended in this world and the next, phantoms walking through twilight forests and such. like it's decay, it's all based on decay, which, yeah, it's pretty gruesome, not gonna lie, but it's also rebirth at the same time. That fragile beauty that sprouts from what has been lost. And I guess too, like when I think about it, like really connect the dots and everything, in some ways it's kind of like a continuation of my previous collection titled Mythic Waters. That series was about drifting through dreams and silence, like soft tides carrying forgotten myth. And now with Autumn's Requiem, that tide has long receded and it left behind what remains, when the waters finally pull back in a way, husks, shadows, bones, and, even seeds, you know. And I guess too, this collection is, autumnal kind of like turning, where to me it's like myth and memory kind of start intertwining and where it kind of becomes like a ritual. For me, it's the season of veils, like where the gods weep through the leaves and their stories are written in rot. I don't know how to explain that in layman's terms. I really don't, but it's something visceral to me. And I guess too, in the end, this entire collection is also going to be a bridge, It's what's going to carry into winter, where I'll start shaping, my next collection, which I'm thinking about titling it Of Ash and Snow. We'll see. But I really like that. I think it clicks. For me, it clicks, I love it. Anywho, but yeah, it in a way, these collections, like, while they do meet the themes of the season, the holidays and stuff, it's also like the cycle, the natural cycle, kind of like how to explain it. But yeah, it's a cycle, where basically each collection basically tells its own truth, its own myths, its own memories and thoughts of that are mine, that are usually within that time, or like how these feelings, drift into something else and it ties into that irony. I would dare to say, that it's befitting of the season. So yeah, but at the same time, like they lead into each other, kind of like, the different dances on, a sheet of music, it's an ongoing song, an ongoing requiem in its own right. Anywho, I'll come back to this. But anywho, on the practical side of all things, uni is officially back in session. And imposter syndrome is still there, like perched up on my shoulder like a fucking bird. Yeah, I don't know. I've been fighting it back a lot and staying on top, ahead of my coursework. 2 of my classes let me go full ham, basically, to get ahead. So at the moment, I have a month-long buffer this week. I will be start working on knocking out all of the assignments that I can for October. Unfortunately, my other class doesn't let me get ahead that much, only 2 weeks. So this week I'll also be working on the following week's homework assignments to get that out of my way. So yeah. But I mean, I'm happy with that, with both that 2 of my classes I can basically knock out before the end of the year, So I'm really, really happy about that. And it gives me a nice buffer too. And yeah, it'll keep me steady basically. Like having that cushion makes it possible, to balance schoolwork and my art without collapsing under the full weight of the stress that I'm under. And in reality too, like when I think about it, the timing really couldn't be better, Like working on this collection, Autumn's Requiem, while juggling grad school has given me an outlet that I never thought I would ever need more of, like more than ever. And in a way, like I was saying earlier, these paintings let me process emotions that I can't literally put into words. I can give you analogies and allegories and everything, but they're feelings. How do you explain feelings? How do you explain emotions? How do you express what it feels like, Because everybody feels emotions differently. And to be honest, I don't share anything of my personal life, let alone like my darkest, detail of my life. I don't talk about it. Like I'm a very private person by nature. And even with that, even with how private I am, of making sure that my private life is kept separate from my online life, that those emotions, those memories, those thoughts of mine still manage to come through in my art, without totally giving me away. It's interesting. It's a paradox to me, Like I might not physically say them out loud, but you can see them, in my art, which is weird. But yeah, like I guess in a way, like you can feel it in my brushstroke in a sense, I guess. There's a roughness, but then there's a softness at the same time. When I look at it, and I've known that it can be quite expressive at some points as well. So there's that. And right now, I am indeed under a lot of stress. And some days it really feels like I'm close to breaking, But the act of creating gives me that solid ground to stand on. Yeah. I mean, of course, like the weight isn't only personal. There's like the world at large, has been pressing down on a lot of that, especially here in the States, It's been hard to take. It's been hard to take in the constant barrage, I guess you would call it, of bad fucking news, and it easily clouds the mind. And lately, my thoughts have been pretty damn dark, and not in like the aesthetic of my aesthetic of my, brand aesthetic or anything, not the aesthetic dark fantasy way, basically, but more in a raw human sense of exhaustion. I that's the nicest way that I can basically sum it up. I'm fucking exhausted. Because, like, how, with everything happening so fast, how does one process all of these things happening, and not just one thing, multiple different things, different sources, different outlets, different parts of the world, you know? So yeah. So I guess basically, like, I'm okay, but I'm not okay, you know? And if you've ever visited this kind of liminal space, you know exactly what I mean, right? And that reflection, like, has also pushed me to, rethink the future of my art business too. Oddly, everything is connected, man. I mean, this has been a build up too, it's been in the making. Everything that's going on here in the US, everything that's going on between Israel and Palestine, Ah, yeah. And I guess with everything going on, you know, for years, I guess too, because of this building, the question lingered, what do I want to do when I finish school officially? Like, I, I didn't know. And I guess this summer, things kind of like solidified. After I graduate, I will be stepping away from mainstream social media, Instagram, Thread, no, the endless scroll to feel something or to find, other like minded artists and stuff, you know, and aren't AI artists. And I wouldn't even call them AI artists, AI directors, AI commissioners. I don't fucking know. But yeah, I don't know. It's not the way I want to live anymore because social media is no longer what it used to, period. Now it's, either you're endlessly scrolling. And if I keep this channel, I don't know, like on Instagram or Threads, I don't have to, I'm not really too worried about this channel on YouTube because, like, I'm doing this as a hobby part of my brand. I don't have to do this, but I am trying to get comfortable, talking more openly, more publicly, and stuff like that. Like things like that, like, my repetitive words, like stuff like that, all that good jazz, I do keep that in my language. I don't, I know if I'm in a more professional setting, yeah. And I have been trying to cuss less, but I will still cuss. I don't care. Like, I really don't. This is me. This has always been me. So, yeah, I don't plan on being on TV or anything. I just want to talk. And there are some things that it's like, yeah, it deserves it. But anywho, so like I do plan on keeping this channel. I plan on keeping, my Twitch and my Picardo channel, probably more so Picardo, because if I just keep it on Picardo, I don't have to worry about streaming NSFW because you can stream both SFW and NSFW. So like, yeah. And obviously Discord, for sure. Because Discord is where I invite all of my community to come and actually hang out with me in real time. You know, I don't want to deal with the hamster wheel of an algorithm anymore because that's what it feels like. You even though the hamster is dead, the wheel is still spinning, basically. So yeah, instead of social media, I want my energy to go into spaces that I can control, you know? And my newsletter is going to be at the center of that shift, in all honesty. Right now, I send 2 emails a month, you know, sharing updates, sneak peeks, and exhibition announcements and events that I'll be attending. You know, it's free, and in a way, it feels more personal and human, I guess you could say, than like anything that I ever really got out of social media. I mean, I did at one point, but it's not that way anymore, you know? And Patreon, I mean, will remain the place for my patrons who want instant access and deep, like, process information into the work. But, like, my newsletter gives everyone an intentional, you know, way to stay connected. And I guess, like, basically, I've pretty much outgrown social media. Like, it did help me connect early on, but now, and especially over time, that shift has happened and it feels like you're shouting into a void. And I don't want to obsess over things like hashtags and wonder if my post will reach the people who want to see it, or if it will even if I do everything right, you know, or if I mess up, you know, then who's really going to see it at all? And I don't know, I don't want my livelihood that is so easily changeable and can easily disappear at the same time, you know? I don't know. I don't know. It's like 1 minute, yeah, you might hit viral, and the next day, you know, it's cricket. Because the algorithm changed, you know? Oh, I don't know. I know I'm not the only artist who feels this way. Like I can't be, you know? I'm sure there has to be like more of us that are realizing that the old, you know, post every day and fucking hope, you know, method is basically a trap because it treats us like machines. I mean, in some cases, we even used to be expected to post multiple times a day. And like we're people, we're human, you know? We need time to ingest inspiration, take breaks from our work, you know, give ourselves that full creative time, and also to get proper rest, proper food, you know, and to live a life, an actual life, you know? And personally, at the end of the day, I'm at the point where I'd rather have a smaller but more intentional audience, you know, who really connect with my work than hundreds and thousands of ghost followers buried by a fucking algorithm. You know, and it's kind of become my manifesto in a way, like to build my stuff slower, you know, create deeper connections rather than shallow reach, basically. But anywho, if you're an artist who is watching this, I'd love to hear from you, you know? Like, are you burnt out by social media, or do you still find it useful? Like, we're all navigating this era together, you know? So, yeah, drop your thoughts and, you know, in the comments down below and everything. Like, I do see it as useful if you can get ahead, or like, you know, not just a stroke of luck kind of thing with Jiggy, but if you can, if you have the time and energy to keep up with that information, because I do not, you know? So yeah. But anywho, this month I also rebuilt my shop. Like, so I moved my domain and website back to Squarespace so I can run everything myself again. And like, oh my God, it was a really big undertaking. Like, not gonna lie, like, not just having to like rewrite everything and then transfer everything that I had, the information, and then like reformat the website and like figure out the layouts to make it look good. Oh my God. But like, I am so proud of myself because I finished it in 3 days for the majority part. Like, there's still some things that I need to add, like my shop, which just needs for me to start adding in all the listings. But I have a lot of shit at the moment. So, like, as I launch my different seasonal collections and everything, like Autumn's Requiem will get uploaded first to my new shop. So, yeah, and then I'll just expand from there and add things in from new collections and everything and just do what I need to do that way. And like, it might sound small, like a small, dinky little victory, but anyone who's built a website knows the time, you know, how like basically how fucking time consuming it is, you know? Like, even just rewriting one page, one website page of yours can eat up hours. And yeah, but now it's cohesive again and I feel grounded. Like, card was simple and I loved it. Like, I loved my layout on card. Like, I really fucking did. I wish Square would do that. But whatever. The coffee was there. It had its limitations though, like no shop. And I was using coffee instead. And, you know, it has its perks. Like 10 out of 10, not gonna lie, it has its perks. But I missed the control of shaping everything exactly how I envisioned it and having it all cohesive, you know? So now it feels like my full space again. And I'm happy, you know? I'm still ironing things out, like the payment systems. Squarespace rejected me for the Squarespace payments, which is more than likely user error. Like, I fucked something up during the setup process. So I will need to appeal it. But I'll worry about that later once I'm finished with my schooling for these 2 classes that I can stay ahead of. So yeah, but for now, I've got PayPal connected and that works completely fine. On top of that, I have also invested in new booth materials for like my upcoming in-person events like Mikichli. Like, I got some new cards, new table runners, and display pieces, so I'm excited. Everything is slowly arriving, so everything should be here soon, fully. And from there, I plan on doing a full mock-up setup, you know, like photograph everything and be completely ready for the 1st of November. So yeah, cross your fingers for me, guys, and knock on wood. Anywho, I think looking back on all of this in a way, like, I think today's theme is about balance. Like, balancing school, balancing art, my business, and life itself. And like for me, I'll be turning 35 at the end of this month. And I'm still figuring things out, you know? Like, some days I feel steady, and other days, legit, I'm hunched over like a fucking goblin, you know, coffee in one hand and my stylus in the other, you know, pretending like I know what I'm doing. And honestly, sometimes that's fine. No, human, basically. There's a lot of balancing though, but damn. Yeah, I'll be 35 at the end of September, bro. Literally. But yeah. Like, when I think about it, grad school eats out, a lot of my hours. Like, literally, it sits there and it devours my time like nothing else. But at the same time, like, I need both paths, my education, because, like, it sharpens me, it keeps me, curious, and art grounds me in a weird way. It tethers me. But yeah, like, even when everything's, exhausting, in a weird way together, this constant want for knowledge, and the constant need to make art, it makes me who I am in a weird way. I don't know how to explain it. But yeah, I am me. I guess. Balance. Makes sense, especially since I'm a Libra. But yeah. And like, I know too, I joke about like my posture, but I don't know, it's kind of symbolic when you think about today's conversation. Like, we're all hunched over right now. Doesn't matter what part of the world we're in. Like, we are literally under a lot of fucking weight. Yet, somehow, we keep showing the fuck up. And I'm proud of us on that. We keep creating. Even if it's 2 o'clock in the morning, with bad lighting and like, you got some dishes stacked up in the sink. Oddly enough, it I don't know. How do you explain it? It's like a beauty somewhere in between that chaos, It's kind of like a love-hate relationship, but I don't know. In the same way, it's kind of like the proof that the drive to create persists even in a mess. Because like my studio is in an uproar right now. It's brutal, but like that need to create is there. But yeah. Anywho, if you're struggling with balance, be it from school, work, family, life, like, I see you. I feel you. We're all figuring it out as we go. We don't have all the answers. And maybe the goal shouldn't be perfection, but instead persistence. Not to have it all solved, but to keep showing up, keep hammering away. And like in a healthy amount, I mean, because like we all need a fucking break. So take a break when you need a break. But yeah, that's pretty much where I'm gonna leave things today. So yeah. Thank you guys so much for spending your time with me. Whether you've been here for years, or you just kind of wandered in. And if you enjoyed this vlog, check out my other videos or stick around for updates on my newest collection. But yeah. Bye, guys.